Good morning. Today I have a very special guest in the house. His mission is to enable individuals and organizations to make their best, become the average, and to help them reach their full potential. He's a certified Marshall Goldsmith executive and team coach. He's a certified NLP master coach and certified trainer of NLP coaching. He's a certified trainer and master practitioner of the timeline therapy. And I have the whole list down here. And I'm gonna let him introduce himself after that. He developed himself and delivered training and coaching programs live, offline, online to more than 10,000 of participants from more than 50 different countries around the world. Entrepreneurs, managers, CEOs, companies, NGOs, governments. He had an experience with all of them. And let me introduce my special guest, Radu Seuche. Radu, welcome.
Thank you very much, Vladislav, for having me here today.
Thank you very much for being here today with us. It's my pleasure to have you here. Tell me about yourself, just a short background of who you are and how did you start as a coach? How did you start making money as a coach? What is most importantly here?
A lot of questions you have there. I've started working as a coach, I think about 10, 12 years ago already. How do you start working as a coach? First of all, get certified. I think that's very important for everyone that is considering this. Get the certification which is relevant, which gives you enough experience and supervision during the courses to be able to practice, because you'll be handling people's lives there. And after that, yes, I think one of the things that most of the coaching certifications miss, which I've decided after my own experience, I've decided when I'm running my certifications, I decided that I need to introduce the business aspect to it as well, because it's just mentioned, going and getting certified doesn't do anything for your business world. You can learn how to be very, very good at what you're doing once the client is in front of you. But most of the times you won't learn how to actually get the client to be in front of you.
Yeah, that's a very good point. This is why we are here. I talk to a lot of coaches nowadays, and a lot of them, they have good certificates. They are certified by UK institutions, American institutions. But when it comes to really getting the client, what is the strategy that you use? How do you get your clients yourself?
Well, I think first and foremost, I'm getting this question a lot because part of my CSR, if you want, paying it forward, I support coaches to grow their business. And I get this question a lot of where can I find clients? And I think it's a wrong or not a very useful question to ask as a coach. A more useful question to ask as a coach is, what is the client that I want? And then it will make it a lot easier to answer, where do I find them? I find out that most of the coaches don't really have a target group, so they don't know how their client is. They really still consider that the whole world can be a client, and the whole world can be a client, but the way you approach them would be very different. So it is about targeting first and foremost. If I'm coming to my strategies of getting clients, I can tell you that about 90% of my clients come from referrals. So I don't really have repeating clients, by the way, because all the coaching processes that I deliver in such a way that they no longer need a coach ever after this. And that would give me the referrals that I need. Because my point or my strategy is to be so good, to offer results that are so good that they're happy, they're satisfied with what they're getting. They come back if they need any other kind of help. And also, out of their own initiative, they tell everyone what they've achieved working with me. So that's the strategy in a nutshell, which is very different from, I'm going to build a website. Don't build a website. I'm going to promote myself on Facebook. How about just over delivering and getting amazing results for the clients and focusing on the 1, 2, 3 first clients that you have, giving them such a good result that they want to tell everyone what they've achieved, and they do the sales for you.
You've touched two specific points that I want to dive into. The first one is that it's very important to, segment your clients and make it super niche and understand who your customer avatar is, right? And the second one is that most of your business comes from referrals. So if we touch base on the first one, how do you make sure that you are clear about who you're serving? Because as I understand, it affects your product as well, right? So once you understand the clear picture of who your target client is, then the product becomes easier to deliver and to package it. Can you elaborate more on how do you identify the client avatar, and then how is it incorporated with your product and the outreach that involves in that process?
So first of all, the client avatar, when someone comes to me for coaching, they think that they're going to interview me to become their coach, when actually it's the other way around. I'm interviewing them to see if I want to work with them. Because I work with measurable and guaranteed results in everything that I do in terms of coaching, and I know that's quite new in the coaching world. I choose my clients, and I've taken that. I've had that privilege over the years. I've kept it, even if sometimes it was financially okay, sometimes not. I decided to choose and select all my clients. I don't believe in niches. I believe in having different segments. I don't believe in focusing on one niche. What I believe is creating segments and then creating products for those segments of clients. This is very different from what you would probably learn in business school or what happens now on the market. What happens on the market is usually coaches have a bit of time, especially now during the COVID times. They wanted to be very busy. Let's create a cool coaching program. Trainers did the same thing. They're creating it, and then they're trying to find the target audience and sell it to an audience. And then it doesn't work. My approach is exactly the opposite, as in I identify a target audience that I want to work with, and then I would develop something together with them. So not for them, but together with them to make sure that it reaches their results, which is, I think it's a much safer approach to actually develop your business. So I would only develop a product once I know I'm in contact already with the target audience that's there. And I would get continuous feedback and improve it as we go.
I agree 100% with you. What I'm doing myself and what I know coaches are doing, they're getting from the first, when they're launching their products, they're getting first, a few customers that are free to ask for their feedback, to develop the product with themselves, not to develop it and then to, try to sell it, because this way it never works, right? You develop it based on the feedback you get, based on the pain points your customer has. And I think it's very important for people to understand when it comes to creating a product itself.
Look, I'll take that and I'll take what you said and I'll take it to the next level. It's not about delivering it for free. It's not about getting the 5 clients and because if they join your program for free, that's not valid feedback. So you need the target audience, should be, if you ever want to make money, and I think nobody wants to speak about this part with the coaches, but I will. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You still need to pay the bills. Yeah. So yes, I want to change the world and I want to make the world better. And at the same time, I need to have the resources to do that. The moment when, and I hear this strategy quite a lot, I'm going to offer 5 coaching sessions for free. I'm going to get the feedback from it and put together a program. The feedback that I'm getting would not be from my target audience, because the ones that are there for free probably wouldn't be willing to pay for the program. So is that really relevant in terms of feedback? The feedback has to be from paying clients. Yes, you can offer special prices for it, but the switch from free to a low cost is very big, and it transforms the audience as well. And this is also the reason why many that have done this, so you do the free version, you get the feedback is brilliant, and then the product doesn't sell, is because the feedback was not relevant. Because you've built something that's free and it's optimized for free, and then you're trying to sell it for money.
Yeah, it's very, very relevant to what you're saying. It's basically people that are not paying for it. If it's for free, they don't value it. and they don't work for it, and then they are not as involved, in creation and.
No, they are. It's just that you're optimizing the process. This is my engineering background. You're optimizing the process based on someone who wouldn't be willing to pay for the program in the first place. So without knowing and without being aware, you're actually setting up yourself for failure because you're trying to monetize something which has been optimized for free.
Got it. So you develop the product based on a feedback that you get from your customers, from your ideal avatar of customers. The next step is you deliver the product, right? And this is where the main part comes, because you said everything comes from your business is built on referrals right now. So that means once you develop the product, you deliver it so good that people want to go out there and talk about you. Can you elaborate on delivery of the product? Do you go extra mile? How do you make sure that people actually refer you after you finished your work?
I'll come back to what you said earlier. I don't see it as a linear process. So for me, the coaching and running a coaching business is a very agile process, which means incorporating feedback continuously. It is not a MVP, minimum viable product phase, and then it's developed and then we sell out the product. I literally tailor everything, or I build every program together with the customers that I have, with the clients that I have for coaching. And I think that's what gives me the edge. We would have a framework, like for example, they would want to grow their coaching business, or they would want to increase their sales, and that would be the framework. And then what would happen in the sessions, how many sessions we would do, it's always tailor-made to answer to the specific needs of that. So I don't do cookie cutter programs. That was always my recipe, because I don't believe in them. I don't think they work. And I think that providing any kind of cookie cutter program would actually be sabotaging my clients. My interest is that I become irrelevant to them as soon as possible. The fastest I become irrelevant to them, the more I can charge. Like, for example, we have a process that we deliver for CEOs, which is called a breakthrough process, which is done in 1 day.
Okay.
It's a super intense day, but it's done in 1 day. In 1 day, you get to get rid of everything that's holding you back from your past and rebuild the future, and then refocus on the company and being the CEO that you want to be. Fun, fast, and easy. Everyone has 1 day. If I tell you it's going to be 30 sessions to do it, a bit different.
Yeah, everyone wants fast and easy, right? And that's a valid point. So I think this is the beauty of coaching and a consulting business, because you go specific to the client needs and you do it very customized. My question here is, that means you're going extra mile every single time, right? My question is, how do you make sure that clients, when you finish with them, they go out and they talk about you and they give you referrals? Do you have a specific strategy, a system in place, or do you ask them to give you referrals, or something that's really in place in your business?
No, I would never ask.
Okay.
I would make sure that I do my job in such a way that they take their own initiative to recommend me. How I do that is over-delivering everything that I do. So I set very high standards and then I over-deliver in everything that I do. And empowering them to be able to speak about the process. Think about it like this. When I started working with CEOs, and it was bank CEOs at the beginning, it was a world in which it still is actually. It's a very lonely world. They reach out to a coach or a mentor or a consultant, because I usually do a bit of mix in everything that I do. So if they need something, and that is not directly coaching, they need to learn something and I can help them, I'll be delivering it for sure. And they weren't feeling comfortable in sharing that they have a coach, because they thought it takes away from their power, their authority to have that. Which means that the coaching process also has to be optimized to change that mentality. To say, yes, I've done it. Actually, I want all the clients to say, I've done it on my own, and Radu was there to support me. That's the thing. It's not about saying, God, Radu did all the work, because I'm not the one doing all the work. On the other hand, they come to me because they know that they're going to go the extra mile as well with that. Because I'm not going to let them, if anything less than 100% is not enough.
It's very interesting how you incorporate the strategy of, coaching them to make sure they talk about it, right? Talk about their change, their transformation. So, and once they talk about it, obviously they refer to you because you were, enabler of the transformation itself. I think I speak to a lot of coaches right now. They're very scared to put testimonials, video testimonials, or ask for testimonials because of that reason. Because with clients that they work, they're not really ready to share. And now you're saying it's the coach. Basically, it's your job as a coach, as a trainer, as a consultant, to make sure that client is ready to share the information, is ready to talk about it.
I think it's time. This is something that I teach all the coaches that I coach to become better coaches. For me to become a better coach doesn't necessarily mean that you're developing your coaching skills, but also your business development skills. And I think it's time that finally coaches realize that the customer journey that they need to design is not specific to what happens in the session, or that even what's in the session, it's not only about getting the results for the client. There are a lot of other points. They need to be reassured. Sometimes they need to have a strategy, and you need to teach them a strategy. They solve their problem, and they need a strategy to teach the ones around them that they've changed. Sometimes, and I think because we're always looking at what's happening in the session rather than what happens from the very first moment we're interacting with the client until the very last one, we need to expand that view. And when you have that, then you realize that you need to have different conversations, different points at different levels, asking for testimonials. By the way, if the client is not comfortable to give you a testimonial, it's not the client, it's you.
Great point. Very great point. And yeah.
Trust me, if you've done the breakthrough with the client, if they've reached their breakthrough point, you won't have to ask. If you have to ask and they don't give it on their own, yeah, that's a learning as well. But I think I'm coming back to some of the principles that I always teach. And one of the principles that I teach is that you can only have outside what you have inside. Perception is projection. It comes from Carl Jung. And every client that you meet is just a projection of what you have inside. So whatever they do or they don't is you causing it. So the way they react, the way they spread the word, the way they don't spread the word, everything that they do is you. And that's a useful, I'm not saying it's true. It's just a useful thing to have in mind, that everything that I do, the way I behave, not only during the session, but also outside in all the interactions, everything is part of the coaching process. People still ask me, how do I manage to have a breakthrough in one day? It's very simple. There's a big secret to it. You need to have a breakthrough before the breakthrough. The client gets a couple of tasks. They also need to pay a certain amount of money. They go through a process in which they interact with you before that day. In order for that day to work, I need to do the preparation in so good that that day is almost done. That day is actually the client's convincer that it worked. The change is already done beforehand through the tasks that they need to do. They're not aware of it yet.
Can you elaborate on that? Like what tasks, how do you prepare, and what's the strategy, right? How do you build this trust and credibility with the client before actually, the session happens? So they're ready, they're warmed up. How do you do that?
3 magic words: rapport, rapport, rapport. A lot of connection building. And I'm always very clear about the rules and how I expect them. So part of the breakthrough session to work, because I have 100% success rate with the breakthrough sessions. And that is also done because I say more no than I say yes to a breakthrough session. It's a significant investment, both in terms of resources and in time, because they need to commit to it. If they pass the first interview, Then they get to know what is their ordeal, and they have an ordeal that they need to complete, which is a series of tasks that they need to complete before the session, and they need to make the payment. It's very often that because they do the ordeal, they no longer need the breakthrough session. So they can get that for free. And then we have the breakthrough session. Now, most of the coaches would say, okay, so the coaching process is in the coaching, in the breakthrough session. It's not. It starts from the interview. You're beginning to change, to help the client change from the very first moment they meet you. It's like as a coach, because we cannot not communicate. So we always communicate something. We cannot not coach. So I think this is a good strategy for getting clients in general. Start coaching outside without expecting anything in return. Every time you meet someone, if there's something that you can do to support them, either ask them a question and it comes to your head and you go, I shouldn't say that because this is not a coaching session. I didn't get permission. I just do it because you never know. And that's how conversations start. And people need convincing. They've met where I call it the second crash phase of the COVID now. The first crash was everyone had trouble. They didn't know what to do, and they went for the cheapest coaches and consultants that they could find to help them fix their problems.
Yeah.
And it made them worse. It's the second phase because now the ones that are very good are getting more and more clients. As in, I had more clients and I still have more clients during the COVID times that I had before. Because I need to be thankful to all the trainers, consultants, and coaches that did what they did to deliver things. Because now I'm getting more calls about, look, we've had a consultant before, we chose the cheaper option. Look where we are. We need to fire 10,000 people and we would like not to. Can you help? Yeah.
Couple of good points there. The first one is that you need to deliver value as soon as you enter the conversation with your client. Not wait until you close the client and then start the coaching. Give value and give support from the beginning. And I think what a lot of coaches and consultants do in that business, they have a discovery call or a strategy call, the strategy session, which is free to get to know the client. But not a lot of them actually give a lot of value in those calls. They're more kind of describing their services, what they do and how they can help, instead of initially giving value straight away. What do you think about how the discovery call and the strategy call can help you, and what's the structure and the strategy for it?
So let's talk about business and customer psychology. We know from Robert Cialdini, he wrote it in 1984 already in the Principles of Influence, that you need to there's the principle of reciprocity. If I do something for you, then you'll do something, you'll owe me, and then you'll do something for me. So if I give you value, I'm going to get some value back. Cialdini, actually, what he didn't study is how much value do I need to give in order for it to get something back. Now, if we take the more modern psychology approaches to it, we know that people have a convincer strategy. In order to be convinced of something needs to happen for a period of time or a certain amount of times. Most of the times on this planet, the average is something needs to happen 3 times for someone to be convinced. Now we take that, and this, you get a glimpse of how I usually think, because I've been trained in systems thinking. So for me, everything is a bigger system. It's how I can integrate all the tools that I have into creating something. So if we take what Cialdini said, and we take the convincer strategy and we put them together, my conclusion and my strategy is that I need to deliver value 3 times before I can ask the client for anything. So I'm doing free discovery calls and I'm not closing. Yeah.
What's next? What is
next?
What is the
Exactly.
second step and the third step?
So because we talked about this in the past with online courses, we have this, I call it the breadcrumb strategy. You need to have 3 steps before you can make an offer. It's just that in those 3 steps, you need to offer freemium value. They're free and they need to create massive value. Most of the times they don't. Like, I'm creating a lead magnet. I hear this a lot. And the lead magnet, which should be a magnet to attract the people, has the CV of the coach. and the presentation of the services. How is that a magnet? Because even if we're taking, and now I'm working quite close with Marshall Goldsmith. Even if Marshall would say, look, this is my CV, he would still need a bit more to demonstrate somehow. And I think because we're in this phase in which they kind of know about coaching, most of the experiences of the people that they have around are not very positive because they've been to coaches that they either didn't get results. I hear this a lot, even from coaches. Sometimes I get a result with the client, sometimes I don't. I can't understand that because coaching ends when you get the result. So, or I'm not getting the results, or they're not happy, or we've created this image by not being amazingly good at what we do, by not having the passion and the commitment to work with the clients to make sure that they get the results. So yeah.
You mentioned before that you have something 100% of success rate with everything that you do. And now you mentioned, it all should be based on results.
Mm-hmm.
And before we discussed with you as well, you said, I have a couple of programs that people only pay me when they see the results. So I work for a certain period of time, and then when they see the result, they pay me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate more on this strategy? How does it work? I mean, financially in the business, and then how do you make people pay, after they see results, and how, you make sure that they see results?
So first and foremost, I think what makes a big difference for a coach is having a feedback mechanism in which they can specifically measure what is the growth of the clients. This is in general. We are very good as coaches to set outcomes, not so good at measuring them. So the client, this is from the very first moment, they need to have their own system of measuring results. That's how we measure them. It's not us that's measuring them, it's either the client. If we're talking about the Marshall Goldsmith processes, for example, they're stakeholder centered, which means it's not me or the client deciding, it's their colleagues at work, their bosses, their peers, their subordinates that measure it every month. So they make a commitment at the beginning of, I'm going to work on that. And then they get continuous feedback for a year and measurement from their colleagues so that they can adapt on the way in a very agile process. And after a year, we have a final measurement. If they've reached the target that they had, then they pay for the program. And there's no initial investment in the beginning. Depending on the type of client, the type of program that we have, I do have programs with guaranteed results where they only pay at the end. There are also in-between ones. For example, breakthrough sessions, because I have a success rate of 100% and the payment is part of the commitment, they need to pay up front. And it's also an amount that it's part of the commitment, okay? So a breakthrough session with me is $10,000. At least. Sometimes when we do it with very big CEOs, if I tell them $10,000, then they start laughing. So I need to tell them, they wouldn't take me seriously if I tell them, look, we're going to change everything in one day and it costs you $10. This is also what many coaches do. They underprice their products and they reduce the value and they don't know why it's not working. If I'm talking about the sales programs, for example, because I coach on sales as well, and the sales programs are a combination of training, coaching, and consulting. They get the guarantee for results, and the guarantee for results is that they're gonna get their money back during the program. So everything that they've invested, if the program is 1 week, in that 1 week, they're gonna get their money back at least. So different kind of guarantees, and I like to play with that because I also challenge myself like this. And it's part of my commitment as well.
And I guess this is why you get a lot of referrals, because you put your hat into that and on the line as well. And I'm so happy that you've reached to the point when you talked about pricing, because this is the question that a lot of people avoid, right? Because they don't know how to do it. They are not really sure if people are ready to pay them extra amount of money. What do you charge your client, and how do you know what to charge your clients?
So first and foremost, if you are a coach, trainer, or consultant and you have no clue how to price it, or you don't feel comfortable with asking for the money, give me a call.
050.
Exactly. Because if you have success in coaching, as a coaching business, is very much connected to your relationship, the relationship that you have with money. And if there's anything there in that relationship that you think you need to be sorted, there's any voices, any negative emotions, any limiting decisions that you have, get them sorted, because you're limiting yourself with that. Pricing wise, everything that I do is value-based pricing, which means that I don't have fixed prices. It means that I would establish together with the client what is the value that the specific indicators that I've set would create in their business. As in, for example, if I'm working with business clients, I would connect everything that I do to KPIs. Coaches run away from this because they don't want to have any measurable connection with, I go for it. I'm going, if we're going to do this, your sales figures are going to go there. And for that, I'm going to charge you this. So if you want, this is the sales promise. If you want to double your sales, and I see your business figures, I'm going to say, you know exactly what doubling your sales means, which means if I charge you this amount, after the first year, it's going to be for free. So, but the good thing is I'm going to charge you less.
For people that are not into that, whereas very measurable KPIs, for people that are life coaches, performance coaches, relationship coaches, how can they, if they're only starting out right now, how can they know what to charge the client? So
first of all, if you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as it's impossible to measure. It's not useful to have this angle to think of how do I measure coaching. It's not how do I measure coaching. It's how do I create a specific measuring system for each of the clients. Because the moment when you realize that the measurement system is specific for the client, then it makes things a lot easier. Because the reason why they don't have one is they think that there's a general one and they're looking for a general recipe. There isn't one. But if the client comes to you and says, let's say that you want to increase your sales, and I ask you, how are you going to measure it? You'd know how to answer this. If you say, okay, you're not in sales, you want to be a life coach and you want to increase your confidence. If I ask you, how would you know that you've increased your confidence? Would you be able to tell me? Which means that you would have a reference system, so you'd be able to measure. The client will be able to measure. So that's what I can base it on.
Yes, and the thing is, in sales, when you mention an example, it's seen. Like if you make 50,000, you only pay me $25,000. You can easily see the impact and the ROI. But when you say I'm gonna make you confident, like what does it mean?
I'm not gonna make you confident.
Why should I pay 10,000 for being confident? So how do I measure in terms of the finance?
Well, it depends, because if you're, for example, Steve Jobs, when he was alive, of course. And you need to be a bit more confident on stage, because depending on you, the whole company depends on what you do on that stage in those 20 minutes. Then how much do you think he paid for the confidence to be on that stage for the public speaking coach that he got?
Again, it's example with directed to sales, right?
Because you've connected the confidence to the breakthrough session. The breakthrough session is about sorting everything in your life. It's much more than the confidence. So for everything that I do, and I've chosen confidence because it's one of the areas. It could be time management. It could be anything. The client would always know how to measure it if you ask the client. They would know what an improvement would be.
As a coach, how do I know what to charge exactly? Because I know right now in the market, a lot of coaches, consultants, they charge per hour, right? This is my hour, rate. And this is how their fees are working, right? This is the number of dollars that you need to pay me per hour, which I don't believe is a correct strategy. What is your opinion on that?
I don't think there are right or wrong. Well, I don't believe in right or wrong. I believe in useful and less useful. I believe, and as I said, I do value-based pricing, which means I would establish a certain value so results, measurement system for the results, establish value, and then charge a part of that value. That's usually my pricing strategy.
So what you're saying is basically the customer, he wants the transition. He wants to be at the final destination.
And that would have a value.
Which is point B, and it would have a value to him. And he doesn't care how many hours it's going to take. He cares about the transition and being able to reach his goal or whatever he wants to reach, right?
I think so. Maybe because I didn't mention this earlier, I don't describe the process before. So we talk about the results, and then we talk about the value, and then they get the price, and then we would build the process together, which is very important because then I'm not in the cage of saying, oh, I need to deliver it in 3 sessions or in 5 sessions or in whatever. And then I would go, okay, if you want these results, I can guarantee that you get these results. It's going to cost you this much. And this is how many sessions you need to do. I wouldn't even hire a consultant or a coach who can tell me from the very beginning how many sessions it's going to take without knowing what my problem is.
Yeah. And some people even, they have packages of, 3 sessions, 6 sessions, and 12 sessions, and they let the client choose how many sessions they want, which is how can the customer know how many sessions they need?
I think we need to realize the fact that coaches, in order to be successful, they realize that they need to start selling results rather than process. And this is the big differentiation. They're focusing because it's their processes, their products, they love them, they develop them, it's their babies. And it's all about the process. The client doesn't care if you're going to use this method or this method and having worked with so many nationalities, actually from all the list of the certifications, some of them you mentioned them as well. Many of them, I don't mention them in certain countries because I know what reactions the people will get there. Would I use the tool? Yes, of course. If there's something that I can do to make the process easier and faster for the client, why not go for it? And I've realized that in some countries they like to use hypnosis, for example. In other countries they call it neuroscience. In other countries they call it whatever. In that sense, in the end, it's as Richard Bandler used to say, NLP is whatever works to get the result. And yes, we like to say sometimes because we've paid a lot for a certain certification, we say I'm using this methodology. I would actually go for a coach that says, you know what, let me first find out what your issue is and then decide what is the methodology. Because otherwise, it's like, when you have a hammer and it's the only tool, everything starts to look like a nail.
Yeah.
So it's like, I have this, I got certified in this, then I need to go. And my idea of getting all the certifications was less about getting the certifications, my thinking is every year I want to add something which is completely different from what I've done before to my portfolio. Because I believe I can serve the clients better if I have a very diverse area of tools. That's why I have the coaching ones, I have the consulting ones, the training ones, the mentoring ones, to be able to put together things that are that work together well. Yeah.
So you've mentioned that you're improving yourself all the time, right? You're learning, you're developing to get better results for your clients, obviously, and to earn more money substantially. And what would you suggest people that are watching this to learn from? Resources, books, maybe trainings. What do you use to get yourself to the next level?
I think it's an evaluation. A self-evaluation, or what works best for the coaches, and probably this is the most difficult thing that they'll ever have to decide, is either get a mentor or get a coach. Not on the coaching side, on the business side. Having someone, I'm not talking about 10 sessions, I'm talking about the feedback mechanism. Someone that they can bounce ideas with, or teach them how to be able to be responsive to the market. I know, for example, that I've invested in the Marshall Goldsmith approach is really cool because he's built his tools for the past 30 years. And he has a very clear and distinct process of measuring results, and unique. I've added that to my portfolio because I wanted that process. And I knew that the market is going more and more towards results. I didn't know this because it was at the end of last year when we started the discussions. And I had the feeling that the market is going to go even more for results. It wouldn't have been COVID. I expected that we would have a financial crisis at the end of this year, more or less. And I know because I survived the one of 10 years ago. And the only reason why I survived, well, I thrived then because I started my company then during the crisis, was because I was able to deliver results. And in the end, whatever you process, you call it mentoring, coaching, consulting, training. I don't even know if the client cares what you're delivering. They want, and they're paying for the results. I get a lot of coaches now and say, are you busy now? We don't really have a lot of people. And I'm going, the whole people is going mad and needs help, and you don't have clients. Maybe it's not them.
Yeah, I think COVID situation really reshuffled things, and a lot of people left their jobs. A lot of people that were like, half-time coaches, half-time consultants, now they became full-time, and now they're even struggling more because they cannot get clients. I know that COVID, has negative impacts, have had negative impacts on us, but there are also positive impacts. One of them is moving online, moving digitally, and trying to reach bigger population. People in US now, from being here, we can reach someone in US, in Australia, and make an impact there. I know that you're kind of, doing your steps to move online, doing webinars, doing workshops online. What is your strategy to it, and how can you adapt in such an environment right now as a coach consultant to the online movement?
Very good question. I don't see it as an online. For us, it's not moving online. We've started doing online courses on quite a high level, as in professional level, some 5 years ago. Even before that, we used to do quite a lot of work online. And for me, it was always a mix. And it's about finding the right mix. If I'm working, for example, with an executive team for 6 months or 1 year, it's useful to have kickoff meetings which are live and done in person. They can be, because the relationship building and the program setup goes much smoother. It takes less energy than to do that online when you're starting to work with a big group. And I think it is a mix in the end. It's about, it's very comfortable. Now we can have 5 coaching sessions in a day because we don't need to leave our homes. But in the same time, there are advantages and disadvantages to that. And I think on one hand, coaches need to get better at coaching online, which is something that is not covered in the courses. So they need to find someone who is able to guide them in how to get the same results online as well. And they need to get better at what is the online market, because running ads, guess what? Same results as always. The budget that you need in order to run ads, to make it significant, is quite a significant investment. It's not 100 euros a day or $100 a day that you need to put down. And for everyone who's doing a lot of online promotion nowadays, probably they realize that the return on investment is usually 30%. And 30% is quite good. It's just that it's 30% of quite a big amount that you need to put down up front. So it's not for free. I don't even use it as a strategy. So in terms of communication, it's still referrals. Also because I believe that it's not efficient for a business to focus on, if we're talking about old customers and referrals versus new customers, I think any business shouldn't have more than 20% of their efforts focusing on acquiring customers, maybe 10. If most of the time, think about it, if most of the time that in your business, if you spend on acquiring new, always new, it also tells you about what is happening with the old ones, because you're not really growing that fast. I had a coach that I was supporting about 3 months ago. Said, so what's your division? It's like about 80% of my customers are new customers every month. Went, whoa, that's a huge growth rate. Yes, but they drop out after a month. So every month I need to go through the same cycle again. And it's not very efficient for a business to have. Depends where you put your efforts.
Okay, you said that if you're focusing too much on your acquiring new customers, then there's something wrong with the whole system of your business, with your loyalty programs with your customers, how they refer you. But what if you're starting out? You're just starting out. You don't know anyone. You don't have connections. You're new to this business, and you're really just, you don't know where to go and where to get clients. What would your advice be to those people?
So first of all, you already had clients, because otherwise you wouldn't be certified. If you're certified, you've been through supervision, which means that you've already had clients. Maybe they didn't pay you, they're still clients. I haven't yet met one person on this planet that doesn't have any connections. And I think we need to be better in being realistic about what the start means. The start means how many paying customers do you need to have to start? You tell me, how many do you think you need to have in order to start?
It depends on your pricing. Depends on how much you charge.
You need to have one. And I think this is the jump from 0 to 1 is the most complicated one. And people still consider that, okay, it's unrealistic expectations. I want to have 20 clients a month. And they don't think of, okay, so what's the first step that I need to have? The first step is getting the first client. So the focus and the strategy for getting the first client is going to be different from the strategy from getting the next 50. And for me, what I always suggest is low-hanging fruit. Start making a list with everyone that you know and start speaking to people.
Do you know the strategy Dream 100? There's a strategy Dream 100, basically. When you build the customer avatar and you've identified who they are, you go and you build a list of Dream 100, customers, clients that you want to reach out to and sell them your services.
Yeah.
Right? And then what you do for the next, 30, 60, 6 months, 1 year, you do only this. You reach out to those 100 people and you try to build credibility, trust, and you try to close those customers because they're your ideal customers. They will pay the amount you want them to pay. They will, get the results you want them to get. What do you think about that strategy? Getting a list and working towards that every single day.
Actually, we do so for anyone that wants to enter the sales coaching program, the ordeal that they need to do is that they need to do the 100 no's challenge, which means that before they can join the program, they have to get 100 no's. The 100 no's idea is that you build a list that you continue updating, and every time you get a no, you need to write it down and note what you'll be doing differently the next time. And the next time you have a conversation, apply what you've learned in the previous ones. And they have to get to 100 no's. Usually most of the people pay for their program like this even before they join. You can imagine. There's a second challenge during the program as well. But it's very similar to this. And this is something that I tell everyone. And we've done a how to double your sales webinar for coaches last week. And this was the challenge for the group. We had quite a big group. And I said, look, you have 48 hours. We don't have any clients. We don't have any. Brilliant. Show me that you don't have them. So I want a documented list of 100 no's with the condition that at every no, you learn something and you apply it for the next step. Because I couldn't find any clients. So what did you do about that today? Well, I spent 2 hours on Facebook and I clicked on a couple of links on LinkedIn. No, I want to know how many people you've reached out to. However you build that list. The Dream 100 is a good list once your target audience is very clear. Maybe at the beginning you don't know who you want to work with, so you need to test it out. Maybe you just need to get 3 paying customers so that you get some cash in and then start working on developing the business. And that's fine as well. So for me, the first list doesn't need to be very specific. The only thing is, and there's one rule when you're making this list, you don't get to so when you're making a list of the people that you already know, you don't get to decide if they can afford your service or not. This is very important. So I'm not going to approach this person because for him, it's not, no. Everyone goes into the 100 no's challenge. And you keep on going.
Very
You
good
keep
lesson.
on going until you reach 100 no's. I can tell you that I never had a customer that reached more than 40. Something magical happens around 30. If you continue learning from it, guess what happens? You start getting yeses. No, you start getting, if you take out all the no's, and it's even a change of mindset because people are very much afraid of getting a no. If this is free therapy for coaches, if you're afraid of that, then you should switch your mind to the purpose of a meeting is to get to know as quickly as possible. Get the no's out of the way. When you take all the no's out of the way, you're left with the yeses. That's it. Move on.
It's a very good strategy. I want to note it to those who are listening and watching it because I want to really put it down as actionable steps. You create a list of 100 people and you start, knocking it down one by one. I mean, approaching.
You don't create a list of 100 people. You create a list and you go to 100 until you get 100 no's. I'll tell you what, it's a big distinction. We have a friend of ours who went to Las Vegas and they saw a shoe shiner. They said, "Oh, I want to have my shoes clean. I've never had that. It's quite posh and go there." So he wanted to make conversation with the person. And he asked them, until when are you here? Until when are you working? And he said, $100. It didn't make sense initially. And then it was very clear. I'm going to be here until I make $100. This is not a list of 100 people. That's an easy way out. It's a good excuse. No. You continue adding people until you get to 100 no's. The same. What's your target meeting? What's your target for meetings today? It's not about the meeting. It's about the value that I have. Same question. How many calls do you need to make to one person to close a sale? All of them.
Approximately, they said 7 to 8 calls on average.
I don't work with averages because I'm committed to excellence in everything that I do and to mastery. And that means 110%. Anything less than 100% is sabotage, which means it's either in or out. You either make all the calls or you don't. I already made 3. Did you get to a no? No. Keep on going. Until you get the no. You get the no, learn from it, move on.
So to summarize the strategy, right? Right now you make a list and until the time you get 100 no's, you keep going. You add more people and you add more people and you approach them and you learn from it, which is very important, right? And by the time you said 40, 50, people will start getting yeses.
No, they start getting yeses right away. That's the big surprise.
Okay. That's good.
Because when you're aiming to get a no, somehow the universe works in different ways. Yeah.
But what to do about those people, those coaches, consultants that say, I don't like selling. I hate selling. I don't like pushing. It's not who I am. What do you suggest to do for them?
I'm very tempted to say get another job because coaching is about sales as well. On the other hand, they can always join Performance City, which is one of my initiatives in which we basically do lead generation for coaches. They still need to show up. Even so, as an associate of Marshall Goldsmith, they do the sale for me. But the client still needs to approve the coach. As in, the contract is done, and then they get assigned the coach, which can be me. I still need to pass the interview, and it's still a sales interview. So if you're not comfortable with sales, get onto the Sales Accelerator program, or find another job. Because at some point, you will have to, if you're not comfortable with it, it's not about the sales. It's about the confidence that you have with yourself. And that's something that you should work on.
Very valid point. And I think it's also depends how you sell and how you approach sales at the beginning. Because for a lot of people, right, as coaches, salespeople also got this bad reputation as being pushy, salesy, dirty, all of that. But I think it's how you approach it. And there's one guy, his name is Dean Graziosi, and he explained it very, very good. His wife, she's the best hairstylist in US, right? She was the best. At that time, she wanted to change her career and start teaching others how to be the best at, the making the hair, the making nails and all of that. I'm not the best person to explain it, but that's the example. And when she started doing that, she couldn't close anyone. She couldn't get clients. And Dean Graziosi is a multimillionaire, you know him, right? And he approached her, he said, you need to start selling to people, right? You have a great product, but nobody cares because you're not selling to people. And what she replied is like, I hate selling, you know, I don't like it, it's not who I am. And what happened next, a week later, you know, they had this conversation, a week later, she comes back to him and she says, darling, you know, this evening I want to spend, you know, on the coastline, on the beach. There's this super restaurant, Italian restaurant with pasta that you will never find anywhere else. The pasta has super nice shrimps, freshly cooked, you know, tomato sauce. You can drink this, you know, freshly, you know, uncorked wine, coming with a sea breeze to your face. And he said, exactly. This is what selling means. You just sold me on the restaurant because you wanted me to try that, right? And we only do it for people that we care about, right? People that we love. We're not gonna suggest a movie or a restaurant or something to a stranger. We only do it to the people that we love because we want the best for them, right? And this is what the picture is in my mind. You want to push out your product because you believe in it. Right? And if you don't believe in it, there's no way, you know, you can sell it, and maybe it's better to find another job.
I think this is one of the reasons why the Sales Accelerator, for example, that we run for coaches and trainers, the coaching program is so powerful, because it's not about the techniques that you need to use. It's more about who you are and discovering what is your style of sales and how you can improve using your strengths and your weaknesses so that you get really comfortable with yourself. And it's truly transformational because, as I said, it's less about the techniques, it's more about who you are. And we're all very good at selling. That's the amazing part. We've all managed to convince at least one person of one of our ideas, push forward our idea. If you have kids, for sure you're a good salesperson. If you have a husband or a wife, you're a salesperson as well. It's just, it's learning how to use the skills that you use in everyday life, your own style of negotiating, of convincing someone of your point of view, and putting them into how you develop your coaching business. It's not about some magic tricks. We could do that as well. We could learn hypnotic language. And it's not about that. It's about, exactly like with public speaking. The secret to public speaking is learning to be completely yourself and vulnerable on the stage. But for that, you first need to be completely honest and open and confident with yourself. To make peace with yourself first. And then when you're on stage, they love you. Because people love authenticity. And I think with the coaches, this is why we have clients that are disappointed. And it's because what their coaching face is different from who they are. Coaching is a mask. It's a different persona. It's not who they are. And most of the coaching process that I do with coaches is about that. It's about discovering who they are as a coach. And that's the root of everything. Even before thinking of lists of people, they need to fully understand who they are. And then it's going to be very clear what kind of people they'll be working with.
So to round it up, one lesson, one thing that you want our listeners, viewers to learn from today's conversation, what would it be? One thing.
If you want to grow as a coach, you need to invest in your growth.
In what exactly?
Whatever that is. And I think I always say, because it's I can't say personal development, because it's not that. It's discovering who you really are as a person. Discover your true, authentic self, because that's going to have the highest impact. And when you have high impact and you get results for the clients, then the business grows as well. Think understanding who you are, and then using that to grow your business, that's what's going to work.
Great.
That's what's going to make the highest impact.
Is there anything that you want to put out there? Any webinar that you're coming? Is there anything you want to, invite people to? Maybe there's an event, a webinar that you're organizing, a book, or something that you want to share with our audience?
Well, Until our book of Develop Your Business in 100 Steps is ready, both in English and Arabic, probably in a couple of months. Till then, no, I just have a challenge for the people to do the 100 No's challenge. Get the learnings from there and then get in touch, because I'm curious about what are the results that you're getting. How easy it is to get to 100 No's or how complicated it is. Because I think for everyone, we're very good, as I said, with coaches, with setting outcomes. Not so good at measuring things. And I think the secret, this is to end on, the secret behind the book, The Secret. You know what it is? If you don't act, it doesn't work. Just meditating about it and thinking about it doesn't do anything. And it's not acting on it, it's taking massive action. I think businesses in general don't work because people don't take massive action to achieve their outcomes. They expect their clients to take massive actions to achieve their outcomes. Are they doing the same? And by the way, because of perception is projection, if you as a coach, in everything that you do in life, don't take massive action and are not 100% committed to your outcomes, neither will be your clients. And that's why they fail. Without even knowing, you're sabotaging them. Because you're teaching them that it's okay not to do 100%.
So you always start with yourself, right? No matter what it is.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Great. Thank you very much for coming here today. It was a pleasure speaking to you. I think they're very valuable insights, actionable tips, the challenge that people really will benefit from if they take action. Thank you very much, Radu. Pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much.
So today we have covered a lot of strategies, actionable tips and takeaways that you can use to get more clients and grow your business. If you're a coach, a trainer, or a consultant and you're struggling or having any difficulties with finding high-paying clients and then with closing them and growing your business, please make sure, click the link below, schedule a call with me or my team of professionals who can guide you and give you a step-by-step strategy on how to attract, convert, close, and right customers, high-paying customers, and grow your coaching or consulting business. Thank you very much for listening and watching to this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day. Bye.